The sound of explosions filled the air, deafening and relentless. A bright flash lit up the sky as an enormous alien ship, hovering far above Earth, unleashed its weapons. It was the first wave of a devastating attack on humanity's home. The world had been thrown into chaos. The alien forces, with their advanced technology, had come from the stars. Their ships moved effortlessly through Earth's atmosphere, dropping powerful bombs that obliterated entire cities within seconds. In a matter of hours, the major urban centers were reduced to rubble, and there was no place safe to hide. The world's military, despite all their preparations, were no match for the overwhelming firepower of the alien invaders. In a command center deep underground, General Michaels sat at a large table, watching the unfolding devastation on a bank of screens. His face was grim, his hand shaking as he slammed a fist onto the table. "We need reinforcements now," he shouted, but there was no response. The rest of his officers were just as helpless. The cloaking devices that had once been humanity's secret weapon were ineffective against the alien sensors, and the powerful robots they had built couldn't keep up with the aliens' advanced eye-controlled drones. Even their best defenses seemed like toys in the face of the aliens' technology. The situation was growing worse by the minute. Desperation began to rise as the aliens moved closer to victory. Their ships hovered over Earth, sending down relentless waves of fire and destruction. People across the world, from New York to Tokyo, had no chance. Cities burned. Families vanished. Earth's military was collapsing, and soon the planet would be theirs. But as humanity's last line of defense crumbled, something strange happened. Just as the last of their forces were retreating from an alien strike, an unusual signal began to appear on the radar screens. At first, it was a faint flicker, like an anomaly in the system. But it was growing stronger by the second, impossible to ignore. "It's coming from the ocean," one of the scientists muttered in disbelief. They had been tracking alien activity on land, never once considering the ocean might be of any use. For centuries, the oceans had been considered nothing more than vast, lifeless bodies of water, incapable of supporting the advanced life forms that had conquered the galaxy. The oceans had been written off as irrelevant. Nothing of importance could ever come from the seas. But now, this strange energy surge was coming from deep below the waves. For the first time, the world turned its attention toward the oceans, but it was too late for any of them to understand what was really happening. The aliens, certain of their impending victory, had no reason to worry about something as insignificant as Earth's seas. They were focused on wiping out the human resistance, unaware that they were about to face a new, unanticipated force. Suddenly, the ocean began to shake. The ground trembled beneath people's feet as a powerful force surged upward from the deep. Waves rose higher and higher, crashing against the shores with violent force. The alien forces, who had been so confident just moments before, suddenly found themselves caught off guard. The sea, which had seemed so peaceful before, had turned into a threat. Something massive was moving beneath the surface, something no one could explain. The alien ships above Earth paused for a moment, their sensors picking up strange readings from the ocean. The beings who had conquered countless worlds had never encountered anything like this before. They had studied Earth's oceans, had written them off as useless. Yet now they were feeling the undeniable presence of something more powerful than they could comprehend. From the deepest part of the ocean, an enormous shadow began to emerge. At first, it was just a flicker, a ripple on the surface, but then it grew. Slowly at first, but soon it surged upward, breaking through the waves like a rising mountain of water. The ocean's surface seemed to crack open as something enormous made its way to the surface. The sheer size of the creature was unimaginable. It towered over the ocean, its massive form glowing with strange bioluminescence. It was covered in a sleek, armored shell, shimmering with a strange alien technology. Its glowing eyes scanned the skies above, and as it moved, the water around it seemed to bend, as if the very ocean was in sync with this massive creature. Humanity watched in shock, unable to comprehend what they were witnessing. This was not a natural creature. It wasn't a sea monster, nor was it something that had existed on Earth's surface before. No, this creature was something entirely different. It was a product of bioengineered technology, a being created for a singular purpose. And now it was waking up, as if Earth itself had called it to defend the planet from the invaders. The humans, who had been clinging to their hope for survival, stared wide-eyed at the creature. Could this be the answer to their prayers? Was this some kind of ancient defense mechanism they hadn't known existed? Or was it something much more mysterious? The questions raced through their minds, but they all shared one terrifying thought. Was it too late? The aliens, sensing the presence of this giant creature, started to panic. They had underestimated Earth. They had underestimated its oceans. A new threat had emerged, one that no one could have predicted. Their superior technology, their drones, and their ships might not be enough to deal with this unknown force. As the massive creature moved closer to the alien ships in the sky, another strange phenomenon occurred. The ocean itself seemed to come alive. The waves swirled and shifted, responding to the creature's movements, as though it were an extension of the sea itself. Suddenly, smaller creatures, biomechanical beings, began to rise from the depths, swarming toward the surface. These creatures, smaller but still formidable, formed an army of sorts, each one equipped with advanced weaponry and glowing armor. The oceans had awakened, and they were ready to fight back. But the aliens were not prepared for this new force. As the massive sea creature roared, the skies darkened with the sheer power of the ocean's wrath. The humans could hardly believe their eyes, as the ocean seemed to be transforming into something much more than just water. It was alive, and it was fighting back against the alien invaders. As the battle began, humanity watched from the sidelines, hoping, praying that this was the moment they had been waiting for. But the question remained, would this force be enough to turn the tide in humanity's favor? Or would it be too late to save Earth? Cliffhanger. The massive sea creature, glowing with biotechnological energy, reared back, preparing to unleash a devastating strike at the alien mothership. Would this ancient protector of Earth be able to stop the alien invasion? Or would the aliens find a way to destroy it before it could make a difference? The fate of humanity rested on the answer, and the oceans had only just begun to reveal their secrets. The sky above was a dark, ominous shade, filled with the haunting hum of alien ships as they hovered above Earth's cities. Below, the ground shook with every explosion, every strike from the alien forces. Humanity, once proud of its technology, was on the brink of defeat. The final remnants of Earth's military forces had been scattered, their weapons barely enough to slow down the relentless alien onslaught. The cities that had once thrived with life were now nothing more than burning ruins, their buildings reduced to smoldering heaps of concrete and steel. The alien invaders had no mercy. They came from beyond the stars, armed with advanced weapons, their superior AI driving them forward with a single purpose: to conquer Earth. General Michaels, now leading the remaining human survivors, could feel the weight of despair pressing down on him. His team had tried everything, from high-tech drones to stealthy cloaking devices, but it wasn't enough. The aliens had adapted quickly to their tactics, countering every move with devastating precision. The resistance was weakening, and the last of humanity's hope was slipping away. "We can't hold them off much longer," one of his officers whispered, his voice filled with fear. "We're out of options. We need something, anything, to stop them." Just as the words left his mouth, a strange tremor vibrated through the ground. At first, it was subtle, almost imperceptible. But it quickly grew in intensity, the shaking becoming more violent, almost like a warning. The sky seemed to ripple, and the air felt thick with tension. The ocean, which had once been regarded as a vast, lifeless expanse, suddenly felt alive. At first, No one understood what was happening. The ocean had been thought of as Earth's last untouched frontier, a place that couldn't be controlled or tamed. To most, the seas were simply there, a body of water that made up most of Earth's surface, but had little to offer in the face of advanced alien technology. The ocean had always been silent, moving with the tides, but now, something had changed. Far beneath the surface, deep in the ocean's dark trenches, ancient mechanisms that had long been dormant began to stir. These were not just any creatures or forces. They were part of an ancient, forgotten defense system built by a long-lost civilization, a system designed to protect Earth from extraterrestrial invaders. For centuries, these bioengineered beings had slumbered, hidden away from the world's eyes, waiting for the moment when they would be needed again. And now, that moment had arrived. The first of these creatures broke through the surface with a deafening roar, its massive form slicing through the water like a living force of nature. It was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. Its body glowed with bioluminescence, covered in a sleek, metallic armor that pulsed with energy. Its eyes, large and intelligent, scanned the world above. The oceans had awakened, and they were not going to let Earth fall without a fight. As the creature moved, more followed, rising from the depths like ancient titans returning to battle. They were massive, towering figures, each one designed for a specific purpose, each one carrying the technology of an era long past. The creatures' movements were synchronized, as though they were part of a greater plan, working together as one cohesive force. For the humans, the sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. These were not simple sea creatures. They were intelligent, bioengineered beings capable of devastating force. They were Earth's defenders, built long ago to ensure that humanity would never fall to alien invaders. The humans had never imagined such a thing could exist beneath their oceans. But now, the truth was undeniable. The oceans were a weapon, and the creatures within it were Earth's final hope. As the first battle between the oceanic defenders and the alien invaders began, the humans watched in disbelief. The aliens, still focused on their ground assaults, had not prepared for such an unexpected turn of events. Their drones, which had been so effective against the human forces, were now being torn apart by the oceanic creatures. The alien ships above, too, were caught off guard. They had underestimated Earth, its oceans, and its potential. The sea creatures moved with precision, attacking the alien forces with a combination of advanced biotech weaponry and raw power. They used the ocean's currents to their advantage, pulling alien ships into the water with powerful gravitational waves, dragging them beneath the surface. The creatures' bodies were covered in a natural biotech armor that seemed almost indestructible. Every strike they made, every move they took, was a powerful reminder of the ocean's strength. The alien forces, though technologically advanced, were caught in a whirlwind of chaos. Their weapons, powerful though they were ineffective against the sheer scale of the ocean's fury. The aliens tried to adapt, sending more drones and ships to counter the assault, but they were overwhelmed. The tide of the battle had shifted, yet despite the ocean's awakening, the aliens were not done. They had underestimated humanity before, and they wouldn't make the same mistake again. Their leaders, watching the unfolding chaos from the safety of their mothership, issued orders to tighten their grip on Earth. The aliens began launching more focused attacks, sending their advanced technology to eliminate the oceanic defenders once and for all. On the ground, however, the situation was growing more dire. The alien forces were pushing deeper into Earth's cities, and humanity's resistance was dwindling. General Michaels, watching from his command center, knew that Earth's survival depended on more than just the ocean's awakening. The defenders from the seas had given them hope, but they were far from invincible. The last remaining human soldiers, backed by the oceanic creatures, fought desperately to protect what little remained. Yet as humanity continued to fight, deep beneath the ocean, another force was stirring. Far beyond the reach of human and alien sight, something else was awakening. It was far more powerful, far more dangerous than anything the humans or the aliens had yet seen. The first wave of bioengineered creatures had been only the beginning. Something much more formidable was preparing to rise. The ocean had been Earth's forgotten weapon, its power hidden beneath the waves for centuries. But now, as the battle on land raged, the ocean revealed that it had more to offer. And this new force, this even greater defender, was unlike anything anyone could have imagined. The humans, struggling to hold their ground, had no idea that the real battle was just beginning. As the alien forces tightened their grip on Earth, the oceans stirred once again. Something massive, something unimaginable, was about to break free from the deep. In a final, dramatic moment, the ground shook once again, and the ocean itself seemed to rise in anticipation. This was no longer just a battle for survival. This was the final stand, the last chance for humanity to fight back and reclaim their home. And whether they survived would depend on whether the ocean's final force would rise in time to protect them. The question lingered in the air, heavy with uncertainty. Could humanity survive long enough to witness the awakening of their final protector? Or would the alien forces wipe them out before they had a chance to discover the full extent of Earth's hidden power? The resistance was on its last legs. Earth's cities had fallen, and the human forces had been pushed into a small pocket of resistance, hiding in the ruins of their once great civilizations. The alien invaders, with their superior technology, were closing in. The remnants of humanity's military, once formidable, now seemed like little more than an afterthought in the face of the alien onslaught. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds, Captain Bonner and his team were not ready to give up. Bonner stood on a rooftop in the heart of the city, gazing out at the horizon, where the alien ships loomed ominously in the sky. The battle had already cost them so much, and yet he could feel something stirring beneath the surface of the ocean. The awakening of the biotech creatures had given them hope, but they knew they couldn't depend on them alone. The ocean, their last untapped weapon, held the key to humanity's survival. But unlocking its full potential was no simple task. Bonner turned to his team, a small group of elite soldiers who had fought through the chaos of the past weeks. Their faces were grim, their eyes filled with exhaustion and fear. But there was something else there too, a fire, a determination to fight, no matter the cost. "We can't hold them off forever," Sergeant Harris said, her voice strained. "We need to do something, and we need to do it now." "We have one shot," Bonner replied, his voice steady despite the weight of the situation. "The ocean's creatures, they're our only chance. We need to establish communication with them, find out how we can unlock the full power of what they've been hiding." It was a risky move. The oceanic creatures had emerged from the depths, their bioengineered bodies unlike anything Earth had ever seen. They were formidable, powerful, and incredibly intelligent. But despite their strength, the humans knew little about how to communicate with them. The technology buried beneath the waves had been lost to time. But Bonner and his team had one advantage. They had access to Earth's last remaining advanced tech. The group moved quickly, setting up a makeshift command center in an abandoned building near the coastline. The ocean's creatures had shown their power before, but now, humanity needed to tap into that power, to understand how it could be used against the alien forces. With the threat of complete annihilation hanging over them, there was no time to waste. "Begin the sequence," Bonner ordered, his voice sharp and commanding. The soldiers worked quickly, connecting their devices to the ancient tech hidden in the ocean's depths. They had discovered a hidden communications network buried within the ocean's biotech infrastructure, a system that had been dormant for centuries. With the right signals, they could awaken the full potential of the ocean's defenses. As the team worked, the sounds of the alien assault grew louder. The ground shook with the impact of alien weapons, and the air was filled with the hum of alien drones patrolling the skies. The humans had no illusions about their situation. The aliens were closing in fast, and their defenses were rapidly crumbling. But there was one hope left: the ocean's technology. "Signal is locked," Lieutenant Cole announced, his hands flying over the controls. "We're in." Bonner took a deep breath, his eyes fixed on the flickering screens. The Resistance had fought with everything they had: cloaking devices, robots, advanced weaponry. But it had all been in vain. The aliens had adapted, countering every move. But now, with the ocean's power at their fingertips, the humans had a fighting chance. A pulse of energy surged through the system, and the sound of deep, rumbling growls echoed through the building. The ocean's creatures were responding, their massive bodies stirring beneath the waves. They were awake, and they were ready to fight. But just as hope seemed within reach, the aliens launched their final assault. Their forces surged forward, pushing into human territory with renewed ferocity. They had realized the humans were trying to unlock the ocean's defenses, and they would not allow it. The alien mothership loomed above the battlefield, its weapons poised to strike at the heart of humanity's last stronghold. The first wave of alien drones swept in, their weapons firing in every direction. The Resistance soldiers were forced into close-quarters combat as the alien forces poured into the streets, overwhelming them with their numbers. Bonner's team fought with everything they had, using every weapon at their disposal, but it was clear they couldn't hold out for long. "Fall back," Bonner shouted, pushing his team into a retreat. "We need to buy time for the weapon to activate." The streets were filled with the sounds of gunfire, explosions, and the screams of soldiers fighting for their lives. Bonner and his team were caught in the heart of the chaos, doing their best to fend off the alien invaders. But the aliens were relentless, their weapons devastatingly effective. The Resistance was being pushed back, inch by inch, and there was no place left to retreat to. Despite the overwhelming odds, Bonner refused to give up. His mind raced as he looked for a way out, for something that could turn the tide of the battle. Then he had an idea. "Activate the weapon now," Bonner ordered, turning to Lieutenant Cole. "We don't have much time." Cole hesitated, glancing at the screens. "We're still not fully connected." "It's not. We don't have time," Bonner snapped, his voice sharp with urgency. "If we don't do this now, we're all dead." Cole nodded, his hands flying over the controls. The energy pulses from the ocean's creatures intensified, and the ocean began to react, its vast power rising from the depths. Massive waves crashed against the shores, and the ocean's creatures surged forward, ready to do battle. But the aliens, sensing the shift, prepared for their final attack. In that moment, Bonner knew that this was it, the humans' last stand. The weapon was their only hope, but it would come at a cost. As the weapon powered up, Bonner realized that the aliens would do everything they could to stop it. They wouldn't give up until Earth was nothing more than a memory. The final battle was a blur of explosions, flashing lights, and the sounds of war. The oceanic creatures fought with a fury that matched the aliens' brutality. The air was thick with the energy of the battle, the tension almost unbearable. Bonner fought alongside his team, taking down alien drones and pushing forward through the chaos. But the alien mothership was closing in, and there was only one way to ensure the weapon was activated. It was a suicide mission. In the final moments, Bonner made the decision. He grabbed the activation device, running toward the edge of the battlefield. His team tried to stop him, but Bonner knew what needed to be done. With a final glance at his team, he activated the weapon. The surge of energy from the ocean's depths erupted in a blinding flash of light, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The alien forces were thrown back, their ships disabled as the ocean's power swept through them like a tidal wave. The aliens, caught off guard, were finally defeated. But the cost was high. Bonner had sacrificed himself to ensure that the weapon was activated, ensuring that humanity had a chance to survive. As the energy from the ocean's creatures surged through the battlefield, the remaining Resistance soldiers fought on, knowing that their captain's sacrifice had bought them the time they needed. The battle wasn't over, but for the first time, humanity had a chance to win. The loss of Captain Bonner had shaken the heart of humanity. His sacrifice, though heroic, had left a hole in the resistance, a gap that no one could fill. The remaining soldiers, his closest friends and comrades, fought with a new sense of purpose, driven by the knowledge that the survival of Earth rested on their shoulders. Bonner had given everything, and now it was up to them to finish what he started. As the weapon powered up, the ocean's creatures surged forward with incredible force. Their massive bioengineered bodies seemed unstoppable as they collided with the alien drones in the sky, tearing through the enemy ranks with astonishing speed. The sound of battle echoed through the air, a cacophony of weapons fire, alien screeches, and the roar of the ocean's defenders. The alien mothership, hovering ominously above the battlefield, had long been the symbol of the alien force's power. But now it was beginning to tremble. On the ground, Earth's forces, what was left of them, fought back with everything they had. The Resistance, now equipped with the ocean's advanced technology, had become a formidable force. Robots and soldiers fought side by side, using cloaking devices and powerful weapons to push back the alien ground forces. The battlefield had become a blur of gunfire, explosions, and the roar of combat. The aliens, once confident in their victory, were now feeling the pressure. Their superiority was slipping away. But the final battle lay in the skies. The alien mothership, the heart of their invasion, had to be destroyed. It loomed high above, its weapons still powerful, its defenses formidable. Earth's forces had to find a way to disable its shields and take down the mothership, but it wasn't going to be easy. They would have to get close, very close, and fight through waves of alien drones to even have a chance. The ocean's bio-creatures, led by their leader, a massive sea serpent-like being whose body glowed with the energy of the ocean, fought alongside the humans, taking down drone after drone. But the battle was far from over. The alien mothership's shields were still up, and there was no way for Earth's forces to get close without risking everything. "This is it," Lieutenant Harris said, her voice trembling with emotion. "We push forward, or we lose everything." Bonner gave his life for this moment. Sergeant Cole replied, his voice filled with determination. "We can't let that be in vain." With that, the soldiers made their move. They pushed forward, racing toward the alien mothership's defenses. The bio-creatures cleared the way, their massive bodies tearing through the alien drones as Earth's soldiers followed close behind. The sound of gunfire mixed with the roar of the ocean's creatures as the forces clashed. The Resistance soldiers fought like never before, determined to see this through. But just as the humans were closing in on the mothership's defenses, the unthinkable happened. Alien drones, reinforced and more dangerous than ever, began to swarm the soldiers. The Resistance was caught in the middle of a deadly trap. The death toll began to rise as soldiers fell one by one. Bonner's closest friends, those who had fought beside him through thick and thin, were among the first to fall. The sound of their screams, the sight of their lifeless bodies, deepened the emotional stakes of the battle. These weren't just soldiers, they were family. Every loss was felt deeply, and each death served as a reminder of how high the cost had been. Sergeant Harris, her face streaked with dirt and blood, was at the front, leading the charge. "We keep moving," she shouted, rallying the remaining soldiers. "We do this for Bonner, for everyone we've lost." But the enemy was relentless. The alien drones came in waves, firing their deadly weapons with precision, their attacks unyielding. The Resistance soldiers fought with all their strength, but it was clear that the aliens were starting to gain the upper hand. The human forces, exhausted and outnumbered, could not hold out much longer. In the chaos, Harris and several other soldiers made their final push toward the alien mothership's core. They had to disable its shield if they were to have any hope of destroying it. But as they approached, an alien drone caught sight of them and opened fire. Harris dove for cover, her heart racing as the blast narrowly missed her. "We're almost there," shouted Corporal Blake, a young soldier who had fought alongside Bonner. just a little more. But the alien drones were closing in, and the human forces were running out of time. Blake, seeing the impending doom, made a split-second decision. He threw himself in front of the others, his body taking the brunt of an explosion meant for the team. The blast knocked him to the ground. But in that moment, the human's last hope was realized. The shield around the mothership flickered. "Blake!" Harris screamed, rushing to his side, but it was too late. Blake's sacrifice had opened a window of opportunity, but the cost was too great. He was gone, like so many others before him. And yet, his death wasn't in vain. With the shield down, the final assault could begin. Harris, heartbroken but determined, turned to the remaining soldiers. "We finish this now. For Blake. For Bonner." With that, the remaining soldiers launched their final attack. The ocean's creatures joined in, their massive forms working together with the humans to unleash everything they had. It was a battle of desperation, a final push to end the alien threat once and for all. The sky lit up with explosions, the air thick with the sound of weapons fire. As the final blow was struck, the alien mothership shuddered, its defenses collapsing in the wake of the coordinated assault. A massive explosion rocked the sky as the mothership began to break apart, its structure falling apart in a spectacular display of fire and debris. The alien forces, once so confident in their victory, were finally defeated. Earth's forces had won, but the victory was bittersweet. The cost had been high. The heroes, Bonner, Blake, Harris, and the rest of the resistance soldiers, had given everything. The ocean had awakened to defend humanity, but it had taken the lives of many to ensure that Earth had a chance to survive. The battlefield, once filled with the sounds of chaos and destruction, now stood silent. Humanity had survived, but at a terrible cost. As the dust settled, the survivors gathered, their faces grim but determined. They had won, but they knew the road ahead would not be easy. The war was over, but the scars of the battle would remain. And as they looked out over the wreckage of the alien mothership, they knew one thing for certain: humanity would rebuild. The ocean, once seen as a useless and unimportant part of the world, had become Earth's greatest protector. And as long as they had the strength to fight, humanity would never stop fighting back. The tension was palpable as the final battle loomed on the horizon. Humanity, battered and broken but still standing, had one last chance to end the alien invasion. The ocean, once considered Earth's weakest point, had become its strongest ally. With the help of the ocean's bioengineered creatures, humans had gathered the strength to face the alien mothership head-on. The battle would take place beneath the waves, where the ocean's creatures had awakened, using their massive, powerful forms to fight the invading forces. The human forces, including the remnants of the resistance, had equipped themselves with every technological advantage they could muster. Cloaking devices, underwater drones, and energy weapons were deployed as Earth's defenders prepared for the most dangerous battle of their lives. Their mission was clear: disable the alien mothership, the heart of the invasion, and put an end to the devastation once and for all. The ocean creatures, now fully aligned with the humans, took their positions in the water, their glowing forms lighting up the dark depths. These were no ordinary sea creatures. Bioengineered by the ancient forces that had once inhabited Earth, they were intelligent, powerful, and prepared to defend their home at all costs. The ocean was their battlefield, and the humans had learned to fight alongside them. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with. The moment the battle began, the ocean's surface erupted in violent waves. Massive tidal surges crashed against the alien forces as the bio-creatures charged forward. They darted through the water with astounding speed, their massive forms leaving trails of light as they unleashed devastating attacks. The ocean's creatures fired blasts of energy from their bodies, each strike sending shockwaves through the water, knocking alien drones off course. The humans were right behind them. Using their cloaking devices to stay hidden from the aliens, the soldiers and underwater drones moved into position. They fired powerful energy weapons at the alien ships, targeting weak spots in their defenses. The human forces knew they didn't have much time. The alien mothership was well defended, and every second counted. On the surface, the alien mothership loomed, casting a massive shadow over the battle below. It was a colossal ship, armed with weapons that could obliterate entire cities. But in the depths of the ocean, the creatures had the advantage. The ocean was their domain, and the creatures were capable of absorbing and redirecting the energy from the mothership's orbital bombardment. As the aliens launched a devastating strike from above, Earth's defenders below did not flinch. The sea creatures' bodies glowed brighter as they absorbed the energy, redirecting it back at the invading forces. The battle raged on for hours, the tides of war shifting back and forth. The alien drones and ships retaliated with everything they had. Powerful energy blasts from the mothership tore through the ocean, targeting the bio-creatures and the human forces alike. But the ocean defenders were prepared. They weaved through the massive tidal waves, dodging and evading the alien attacks. Each strike, though powerful, seemed to only fuel their determination. The humans fought with everything they had. Every weapon they deployed, every attack they made, was a desperate plea for survival. They had lost so much already: friends, comrades, cities, homes. And now, they could not afford to lose this final battle. The ocean's creatures fought alongside them, pushing back the alien forces, but the alien mothership's firepower was relentless. Its weaponry, designed to wipe out entire planets, was more powerful than anything humanity had ever seen. As the battle continued, the alien mothership began to retaliate with greater force. A massive wave of energy erupted from its core, enveloping the entire ocean in a destructive wave of heat and power. The ocean's creatures roared in pain as the blast hit them. Many of them faltered, their glowing bodies flickering as they struggled to recover. The humans, too, felt the brunt of the attack. The underwater drones lost contact, and several human soldiers were knocked unconscious or killed by the blast. But the ocean, despite the overwhelming force, held firm. Just when it seemed that the humans might have a chance to win, the alien mothership launched its final, most devastating strike. This was no ordinary weapon. It was an all-encompassing attack, capable of wiping out everything in its path: the ocean's creatures, the human forces, and the Earth itself. The strike was massive, sending shockwaves through the ocean and shaking the very foundations of the planet. The humans could see it coming, and for a moment, it seemed like the end was inevitable. The ocean's energy, which had been absorbing and redirecting the alien firepower, began to waver. The ocean's creatures, already weakened by the previous attacks, were no longer able to hold back the alien force. Their glowing forms flickered, their energy sources depleting. The creatures tried to fight back, but the alien mothership's strike was too powerful. The ocean's defenders were beginning to fail. "We can't hold out much longer," Sergeant Cole shouted, his voice filled with panic. "The energy is running out." Harris, her face grim but determined, looked around at the chaos unfolding. The battle had reached its peak, and the aliens were just moments away from delivering the final blow. The ocean's creatures, though brave, were struggling to maintain their defenses. Humanity's last hope was slipping away. But then, something unexpected happened. From deep within the ocean, a new wave of energy surged upward. It wasn't just from the creatures. It was the ocean itself, responding to the ancient call of its defenders. The very heart of the ocean, the force that had remained dormant for centuries, seemed to awaken once more. The water began to glow with an intense, radiant energy. The creatures, strengthened by the ocean's power, surged forward with renewed vigor. "This is it," Harris whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. "The ocean is fighting back." With the ocean's full power coursing through them, the creatures fought harder than ever before. Their massive bodies seemed to pulse with energy as they collided with the alien mothership's defenses. The human forces, re-energized by the unexpected turn of events, launched their final assault. They fought through the chaos, knowing that the ocean's power would give them the strength to win. But as the alien mothership began to falter, it unleashed one final, desperate attack, a massive energy wave that could destroy everything. The humans and the ocean's defenders fought with everything they had, but it was clear that they couldn't withstand another blow like that. With time running out, Harris made a decision. She knew that if the final blow wasn't struck now, Earth would be lost forever. Gathering all the strength she had left, she ordered the remaining soldiers to launch the final strike at the mothership's core. The energy from the ocean surged one last time, flooding through the humans and creatures alike. The final blast of power erupted as the alien mothership's shields broke apart and the ship began to crumble. The ocean's defenders had done it. The mothership was finally destroyed, and the alien forces were defeated. But as the alien mothership fell, the cost of victory became clear. The ocean's creatures, weakened from the battle, began to retreat into the depths. The human forces, exhausted and battered, stood victorious, but at a heavy cost. Earth had been saved, but many had given their lives to ensure that it would survive. The humans had won, but the price had been steep. As the last of the ocean's creatures disappeared into the depths, the survivors stood together, staring out over the wreckage of the alien mothership. The battle was over, but the war had changed them all forever. The battle for Earth had reached its final moments. The alien mothership, once an imposing force above the planet, was now a shattered wreck. The aliens who had invaded Earth with arrogance and supreme confidence were retreating, their once invincible fleet in disarray. But while the victory was certain, it had come at an overwhelming cost. The remnants of humanity's resistance, battered and broken, stood victorious on the shores of a new era. The ocean's creatures, once dormant and believed to be merely lifeless parts of Earth, had risen to become Earth's last line of defense. They had fought valiantly beside the human forces, their glowing bodies now dimmed by the fierce battle. Many of them had perished in the struggle, but the few that remained stood tall, their energy far from what it once was but still a symbol of hope. The ocean, now a living, sentient protector, had made its stand. The final assault had been nothing short of catastrophic. The human soldiers, their numbers dwindling with each passing hour, pushed forward with everything they had left. They were fighting not just for survival, but for the future of Earth. Their cloaking devices flickered weakly, and their weapons, though powerful, were nearly spent. Their bodies ached, their minds exhausted. But they knew that if they didn't push now, the cost of inaction would be the end of everything they held dear. The ocean's creatures, though weakened, joined in the final push. With their massive forms, they moved through the waters with a renewed sense of purpose. Their bodies, once fueled by the ocean's energy, now tapped into the remaining power of the Earth's depths. The energy they had absorbed throughout the battle surged one last time, giving them the strength to fight with all their might. Their glowing forms lit up the depths of the ocean as they launched one final, coordinated strike against the alien mothership. The aliens, now in full retreat, tried desperately to escape the combined fury of the ocean's creatures and the human forces. Their ships, once invincible, were now being torn apart by the joint assault. The humans used every remaining weapon, every piece of technology they had, to ensure the mothership's destruction. With one final, massive explosion, the mothership was reduced to rubble, its core imploding in a burst of light that illuminated the entire ocean. The alien forces, shattered and disorganized, began to flee, their hopes of conquering Earth dashed beyond repair. But as the final remnants of the alien fleet retreated into space, the toll of the battle became clear. The ocean's creatures, exhausted from the constant onslaught, slowly began to retreat into the depths, their forms flickering with fading energy. Many had sacrificed their lives, and the few that remained were severely weakened. The human forces, though victorious, had lost many of their comrades. The once strong resistance was now a shadow of its former self, their ranks thinned by the sacrifices made. As the dust settled and the ocean's waves calmed. The surviving humans and the remaining oceanic creatures gathered together on the shores. There was no celebration, only a sense of somber relief. The war was over, but the cost had been steep. The human soldiers, though triumphant, mourned the loss of their friends. Captain Bonner's sacrifice still weighed heavily on their hearts, and the memory of all the fallen soldiers would never fade. But amidst the sorrow, there was a sense of hope. Humanity had survived, and the ocean had become its protector, a force that would never again be ignored or taken for granted. The once ignored ocean had proven its worth, and in doing so, it had secured Earth's future. The survivors, their faces marked by exhaustion, but filled with a quiet resolve, looked out over the ocean, knowing that the Earth was safe, for now. In the aftermath of the battle, the Galactic Council, which had once viewed Earth as insignificant, now looked upon humanity with newfound respect. They had underestimated Earth's resilience, and now they were forced to acknowledge it. The Galactic Council had always seen Earth as a planet of primitive creatures, vulnerable to alien threats. But now, they could no longer ignore the strength of humanity. They had fought alongside the ocean's defenders, and had won. A new alliance was formed between the humans and the oceanic creatures, one that would last for generations. Earth's oceans, now alive with energy and purpose, would stand as a constant reminder of what humanity had endured. The oceans would be the planet's defenders, their depths a source of protection against any future threats. The humans, though forever changed by the battle, knew that they had gained an invaluable ally. Together, they would ensure that Earth would never again be vulnerable. As the camera panned over the survivors, standing alongside the ocean's creatures, a quiet voice echoed from the depths. It was a voice from the ocean itself, one that resonated deep within the hearts of every human on the planet. The voice was calm, yet it carried a sense of unwavering strength. Earth will never be vulnerable again. The words hung in the air, a solemn promise that reverberated through the hearts of all who had fought for Earth's survival. The battle was over, but the alliance between humanity and the ocean was just beginning. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that they were not alone. Earth had endured, and with the ocean by their side, humanity was ready to face whatever the future might bring. The camera zoomed out, showing the ocean stretching endlessly into the horizon. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow across the water. The survivors stood together, looking out at the vast, open sea. The battle was over, but the future had just begun. The ocean, now a living protector of Earth, would never again be ignored. And humanity, having survived the greatest challenge of their existence, was ready to take its place among the stars. The screen faded to black as the final words echoed in the background, a promise of peace and unity that would last for generations to come. Earth had triumphed, and it was stronger than ever before.